What's up, my people? Welcome back to Vertical Football. Welcome back to another episode of the Manchester United Fans Corner. I'm your host, Shegun. And guys, it's great to have you here. Thank you guys for sticking with us throughout this week. We've been dropping videos on analysis. I think first of all, this week we did Tchouaméni. We analyzed his situation. We analyzed him as a player, what he brings to the team. We also did on Ederson of Atlanta, Matheus Fernandes of West Ham. And so guys, please, if you've not watched this analysis, just try and watch the analysis. And so today, we have a very big, very important analysis we want to do. And it's on Michael Carrick. And so this is the season. This is the moment of Michael Carrick. We are hearing reports that the formal steps to make him the full-time permanent manager of Manchester United are already underway. And so it's just important for us to to do the analysis, honest analysis on what we've learned so far during the interim period. What are the things we've seen that are so good? The things that have come in glimpse, and the things that, the things that we need to improve upon. And so let me start by saying that this is going to be a two-part series. The first part is going to analyze things that we've seen, right? What we've seen, and I'm going to say it. The second part will be on the tactics board. I'm going to do that on the tactics board in terms of analyzing what we've seen in the games on the tactics board to explain a lot more nuanced discussions on the tactics board. So let's quickly just analyze it, what we've seen, and say it without the tactics board. And then part two, we do the tactics board analysis. So I think it has been a successful interim period for Michael Carrick, even considering the fact of where he met us when he came as the interim boss. I think already we were out of the two cup competitions. And when you look at now, we are third, qualified for the Champions League, 2 games to go. I think you have to just say kudos to him. He has made optimal use of the position he met us, the number of games available to him. He has done very well. And I want to say kudos to him, really. And I also want to say that in this period of the interim, the results have been consistent. I think we've had consistent results. The win percentage or the win rate has been really good. And that's also kudos to the manager, kudos to the players also. But also we have to also say that the performances have not been consistent. This is something that if you have been supporting United for years, especially after Sir Alex Ferguson, performances is always an issue, right? And performances will always be an issue, for a very long time. Even Pep Guardiola's teams, there are still little bits of performances that Pep will still be complaining about. So as an analyst, as someone that analyzes the game, I think analyzing the performances and complaining about certain things we need to improve upon will never stop. That's not the truth about the matter. It's just that it will get very reduced, right? That's just it. And so that's what we have come to do, to analyze what we've done well, what we've not done well, what we've seen in glimpse, and to give our own opinions on how to proceed and what to do better, right? So let me also start by saying something before we go into the analysis of the performances. Is as analysts, we don't analyze results. There's no need to analyze in results. 2-0 win, fantastic. Oh, we win 3 points. We move to third. That's not what you guys will want to sit down here, because you guys can also, you already know that before you even come to watch us, right? If you are just analyzing, if we win 3 points, we move here. If we lose, we come there. No, that's not what you want to hear. The reason why you come to here is because of what we do, and that's what we do is analyze the performances, right? So as analysts, we can't just stick to the results alone. We have to analyze the performances, because that's what an analyst should do, and that's why you guys enjoy what we do. So that's what we want to do. And I think in analyzing the performances, I have to say first and foremost is that there is a common phrase in football and even in life, right? But also in football, that the secret to consistent results is consistent performances, right? I'll repeat that. The secret to consistent results is consistent performances, right? And let me also now add something to it. The secret to good, consistent results, right, is good, consistent performances. So as a football manager, even as a player, you can't control results. Football is so much unpredictable in many facets of it. There's a lot of variance in football, a lot of unpredictability in football, that as a football manager and even a player, you can only, prepare and envisage your own performance, right? That is where your own stretch of, or your own sphere of influence exists, in terms of you can only control your own performance. How do I approach this game? I can only control myself. How can I approach this game as a player? I must be ready, fit, mentally okay, ambition, drive to follow this game, right? How do I approach this game as a manager? I must get my tactical setup right. I must get my players in the right frame of mind. I must get them to understand the game plan of the game, and go. That's all you can control. Results you cannot control, but performance you can, at least to some extent, you can control performances. And that's why the best teams that have won trophies and trophies and trophies and trophies, their focus is never on the results. The focus majorly is on the performances. Because if the performances are right, if you play better than your opponent, 7 out of 10 times, right, you will get the results. And if you're 7 over 10 or 8 over 10 or 9 over 10, you'll definitely win trophies, right? And so that's always been the way it works. And even as an analyst, there's a rule of thumb that I read somewhere, and let me share it with you guys in terms of how we approach and analyze the game, right? One game, just one isolated game, all that you can do, because the result can be random. Football is very unpredictable. Sometimes you have situations whereby a team doesn't play well. Maybe the XG is maybe 0.3 or 0.5, but there's a chance that they get, and they bury their clinical, they bury that chance. And so football is that random. So the only thing you can do as an analyst is just to analyze the performance. But in a case where it's 10 games, right? In a case where it's 10 games, the results start to reflect the performances. So in a 10-game block, and that is why we're beginning to listen, the result now starts to reflect the performances, right? The results are now a reflection of the performances. And then in a 38-game period in the league, what happens is that, the performances will let us understand how they got to the results. So the performances usually explains the results. So you cannot win a league of 38 games by just focusing on the results. The performance is very important, because at the end of the 38 game, the performances will let us understand how you got here. When you look at Pep Guardiola teams or Jurgen Klopp teams, the performances ultimately explains the result. And so that's why for us, it's always all about the performances. It's always all about how the manager approaches the game plan and everything. That's what we can analyze. And then, the results will reflect at the end of the season. So guys, let's jump right into what we learned so far under Michael Carrick in the interim period. So I will start with the positives. The first positive under this interim period for Michael Carrick, really the major positive for me has been the clinicality of our attackers. Of not even attackers, of our players. I think we have been clinical in front of goals. And I think that for me has been a very, very big difference between under Ruben Amorim. Because under Ruben Amorim, for me, I saw some very good team play, but ultimately we're let down by being clinical. That team wasn't a clinical side. That was a team that, although even at the time when he was manager, that's Ruben Amorim, we had a very high XG, in terms of expected goals, but the goals were not matching the chances that were being created, right? We're not clinical. But under Michael Carrick, I think the big major difference for me has been the fact that we're clinical in scoring goals. And you want to think about football, when you score goals, you are on your way to winning games, right? And I feel that has been the major stop in terms of clinicality. We've been clinical. We've had situations where we've not had as much chances as possible. Even at the beginning of his period, when you look at the Man City game, that was a game that I think we had, if not 2 goals that were disqualified in that game, and we still won. I think it was not 3-0 we won. So you can see that that's a clinical side. And we've even had situations where, like a Everton game away, where it wasn't a very good game for us in performance-wise, but we had a chance and we were clinical. For me, that's been a very big positive in terms of the fact that we're clinical. And when you look at teams that end up winning this league, there is a side of clinicality in them. You have to be clinical in this game. And I think that is a very good positive that they have to build on in terms of don't lose that clinicality, even though as we try to work on how the performances will improve, right? How the performances will be a more wholesome, consistent performance, but don't lose the attribute of being clinical in front of goal, because it doesn't matter what you are doing. If you're not clinical in front of goal, the results don't come. And when the results don't come, you don't get to achieve what you need to achieve. So I think the clinicality in front of goal has really been a big one. Now, second thing that has been a positive for me under Michael Carrick and what I've analyzed is the fact that I've liked majorly the individuals, 2 individuals that I think I've liked what he has done with them. I think it's just the beginning stage, but I think he can also improve. And the first person has to be Kobe Mainoo. I think you guys that have been watching us for a long time understood that we called it early in terms of we saw Kobe Mino as a deep line playmaker. We said he has to be the first receiver. Casemiro cannot be doing that job for us. He has to be the one to receive the ball. He has to be the one to take the play. Yes, he's just starting it. He still has a lot of things to improve upon. I will do an analysis very soon on that situation in terms of he needs to improve a lot of things. He needs to improve upon his distribution. He needs to be able to cover a lot of spaces by the side, not just centrally, but a lot of spaces by the side, and not just by the side in front, because he does a lot by coming up. He does a lot by covering spaces in the front, but also he needs to cover spaces. That's good menu now. He needs to cover spaces in the build up by the side, by the left, by the right, and also in the build up. That's been a first receiver. It's not just to just take, because he's doing that recently now, to be in the center of the two center halves, which is very, very good. But not just that, he has to also be someone to be behind the spearhead of the opposition press and to find spaces for easy build up out, and bypass the spearhead of the opposition press. So there are a lot of things that he needs to be able to do. The movement behind that spearhead needs to improve. Even playing out by the side, right, needs to improve, right? A lot of things I need to improve upon. And I know that, if the manager keeps telling him the things I expect that he should improve on, the distribution has to be better. He has to have a very good mixture of long, short, medium passes, slow down the tempo of the game, speed up the tempo of the game. A lot of things I need to improve. But I think the fact that the decision to make Omeno the deep line playmaker, which we called earlier, I'm very, very happy about that. Really, very, very happy about it, because I feel he has a chance to be effective in that role. And there was a time when I was clamoring for it after the Bournemouth game, that I said I love the Bournemouth away game that we drew. When I was clamoring for it, I said I saw things I liked there, and that was fantastic in that role. I one time even related it to Eric Chell, that's Super Eagles manager, Super Eagles head coach, and the role he used Iwobi, right, in the Nations Cup, right? I was like, that role, made the Iwobi much more influential into the team. And I believe Kobe in that role, yes, it's just at the beginning stage, could also do something amazing, really, really. So that's been one part. The second part has been Bruno Fernandes. I think when people try to talk about Bruno Fernandes, they say Bruno Fernandes has returned to the number 10 position. I think that's just surface level in terms of, okay, number 10 position. No, I think when you look at the Bruno Fernandes game, it hasn't just been number 10. I think it has been a much more freer role for him, not just being number 10, but a lot of freer role in terms of he has most times, been on the sides, right? Being on the sides, and sometimes even Matheus Cunha moves into the number 10 position. Sometimes, a lot of times, moves into the number 10, and Bruno has the opportunity to play by the sides, throw those balls by the side. So I think it has been a lot, in that side. But as we will explain further, I still believe there needs to be much more freedom for Bruno, not just linearly like this. I think also coming deep, moving forward. I think he can do that. He has the energy, and I think he has the skill set to do a lot of those kind of movements. But I think for me, Kobe Mainoo's individual role and Bruno's role has been positive. That Michael Carrick has brought into the team. And let me not talk about glimpse, because I think those are the two positives that I can analyze. And then let me now talk about glimpse. The first glimpse that we've seen under Michael Carrick that looks good, but we did not see it to the same of effectiveness, was the 4-4-2 mid to low block in terms of compact zonal, right? Zonal marking of the 4-4-2. I felt we saw it very, very effective. We saw 4-4-2 all through, but we did not see the 4-4-2 as effective as we saw, for example, against Manchester City. Right, that compactness. I don't think we've seen it after the Arsenal game as compact like that, and I think I wasn't really pleased with that. I felt even after the Arsenal game, I did a content where I was talking about the fact that I hope that compactness, off the ball could be, even though it was a mid to low block against Manchester City and Arsenal, I felt that compactness could be, that compactness could be retained, but the line could be brought up further, right? And now, like replicated from a mid to low block to more of a mid block and ultimately to now become a high block or a high press, right? I felt that compactness will be replicated in terms of everybody compact the same way, but let's move the line up, and let's now turn to a high pressing team. And I think we have to do that. He has to do, not we. But Carrick has to do that in terms of, I felt we saw that against Manchester City, very, very good. And it made the opponents have a lot of mistakes. And I always believe if you can replicate and just increase the line, it's a very, 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 very good side in terms of having counter pressing situations and and having transition moments in the opposition have to score goal. So I really believe it will be nice. And so, but another thing I think we've seen that's the second glimpse that we've seen, I think will be the diamonds on the ball. I think I only saw that clearly against Tottenham. Right, against Tottenham. Against Crystal Palace, maybe I saw that, but I think clearly it was against Tottenham. I think especially in the first half, second half, I think we saw that clearly against Tottenham, where on the ball we were closely together. That's in compactness, but on the ball closely together. But you could see the visible diamonds where there's a player in front, two players on the side, and one player in the back. And I think I analyzed that then. If you watch the video I did when I analyzed Nagelsmann, I said about it then that him and Nagelsmann approached the game in that way. I think it's a very good thing, but also there are things that we need to improve upon in terms of we need our players, number one, to be very, very comfortable in playing in tight spaces, because when you are compact, the opponent is also compact, those tight, short passes, tight spaces. And if you are compact on one side, we also have the need to ability to switch over to the other side, right? And maybe you keep somebody to create maximum width and switch to the other side. We need to also develop that quality in us. But also, the purpose of the diamond that is shot together is the fact that when you do the short passes, even when you lose the ball, you know, as Johan Cruyff always says, space is the most important thing in football. So when you lose the ball, there's that, the space is constricted. It's not a wide space, it's constricted. And what you need to now do is now bounce in terms of counter press to cover back the ball. And so two things we need to improve on majorly is short passes in those tight spaces, which we need to get better at, which I feel we've not done most part because we've resorted to long balls, which we analyze. I think our long balls at the point was too much, and we need those short passes to play that kind of situation. But also when we now lose the ball, we need our players to be active enough in their mind to counter press within the 5 seconds and try to win the ball back, right? So I think these are the things that we need to improve upon. But we've seen them in glimpses, and I think we just have to improve on it really. So let me now push to more things we need to improve upon, more things, because this team currently has a lot of things we need to improve upon. The next first one that I will say under special things we need to improve upon will be intensity. I think Michael Carrick needs to get a way to make this team run. I think this has been one of the major issues that United managers have had after Sir Alex Ferguson. Managers want to try, and I think all managers have said it at one point, they want to try and make this team run. I think Ten Hag at one point, after the Brentford loss in the second match of his own tenure, had the players running extra distances in training that they missed out in the game and everything. So I think every manager, you have to get your team to run. This United side is not a team that can consistently run more than the opponent. And I think that's just the basics of this game. And I keep saying it, the foundation for you to even win any game in the Premier League is that you need to, two ways. Number one, you either need to run more than your opponent, or you need to control the intensity of the game so that you are in control and you're able to control your opponent's run, right? But two ways, you supersede the intensity or you control the intensity. And I think even those two things we've not been able to do it well. So I think we need to improve on those two things. More than the opponent, and also control the intensity will be very, very important. So Michael Carrick needs to make this team run. We need to make this team run. I think the Newcastle game was an example. West Ham game, Everton game was an example away. Brentford game also, after the first 10 minutes of intensity, we dropped off. So I think we need to get he needs to get the team to be able to run. I think it's very, very important. We need to do things with intensity from the beginning to the end. So start the process from the first. We've seen first 10 minutes against Brentford. We saw like first 15 minutes against Liverpool, 20 minutes against Liverpool. And I think that should be the way forward in terms of get your team to be able to do that intense running for most part of 90 minutes, right? For most parts of 90 minutes. And in play times where they cannot do that intense running, you should control the intensity. So the second thing is that we need to improve upon big time is the relationship with the ball. our relationship with the ball has not been good. I have to say that. In terms of, I think it's more or less it's going to be a mindset shift now for Michael Carrick, because I know people that have watched his game at Middlesbrough says he's a possession-based manager, and I've not watched the games at Middlesbrough. I'm more focused on what he does at United, not what he did at Middlesbrough. I feel the Middlesbrough, yeah, you could see his Middlesbrough, but the fact is, it's not a high pressure situation, and so he's able to try many things in that situation. But I think United is about what you need to do to win and what are you doing currently. That's what I want to focus my own mind on. But people that have analyzed it, people that I trust that and have analyzed the Middlesbrough situation have said he's more of a possession-based manager. And I think you have to make sure that the mindset of a possession-based team, and when I mean possession, let me not even use the word possession-based team now. Because if I use possession-based team, people might be looking at it that, oh, do you want us to now play like Pep Guardiola teams or a Barca team? No. Just be good on the ball. Being good on the ball doesn't essentially mean a possession-based team, right? But have good relationship with the ball. So that's my own opinion. And what do I mean by that? Let me go further. In the sense of mostly it's the mindset thing, right? I've always said having the ball sometimes can be a defensive action and also an attacking action at the same time, right? So sometimes we've seen a mindset where, for example, against Liverpool was a typical example. We're leading 2-0, we had the momentum, and for some reason, we sat back and gave Liverpool the ball. And Liverpool are now trying to come into our own half. We now have shot in front of our box 18. I think Gravenberch had one, Gakpo had one. And like, why are you giving them that confidence? You have the momentum. Don't hand over the momentum to the opponent. I think against Brentford also we saw that. We after the first 10 minutes against Brentford, which we scored, we scored a goal. And then all of a sudden, we gave Brentford the ball. Brentford is having confidence to come into our own half to play. You don't want to do that. That's not a good way to defend, in my opinion. And I think against Liverpool, I saw a shift because I felt that towards the end of the first half, Michael Carrick adopted I think for the 4-3-3, if I'm not mistaken, 4-3-3 mid block or high press, right? In certain moments, right? But I think majorly was more of a mid to high press in the middle of that, where he now tried to stop the easy build up of Liverpool's play. And I think Liverpool started making mistakes in that moment. So I think we need to ensure that it's a mindset stuff. Don't just cede possession. Have a good relationship with the ball. Try to, to control the game with the ball, so that when you have the ball, your opponent doesn't have the ball. I think that's the fundamental tenet of the Cruyffian school. Even though I'm not saying we should become a Cruyffian footballing team, but I'm just saying have the ball is better than, and when you don't even have the ball, don't go so deep, right? Be high so that you can even cause your opponent's issues and try to even score more and control the game higher up in your pitch without the ball. So I think also pressing is also been a very, very good one that we need to improve upon. I think that's what I'm also saying right now. In terms of our pressing, needs to get better. I know that, yes, it's difficult as this United side to become a high pressing side. It's very difficult. I think we tried that against Brentford. We tried that against Chelsea. 4-4. I press against Chelsea, or sometimes it was a mid, but it wasn't a aggressive press. It was just a zonal kind of press against Chelsea. But I think they passed through. They passed through even when there was a mid block situation. So I think we need to get better on our pressing. I'm not saying we should go high press, but even if it's a mid block situation, let's make that team more of a pressing situation. In certain games where you feel you can even cause havoc to the opponent, why don't you go on the high press in certain games and cause havoc? So we need to improve on our pressing. And we need to ensure that, as I said earlier, teams don't play in our half. We play in their half. I think it's very, very important, really. Don't give teams the opportunity moving forward. Don't give them the opportunity to now say, oh, we can now play, or we are beginning to get rhythm. Don't allow teams to get rhythm by passing the ball around and get more confidence. And I think one way for us not to be able to do that, or to give them not one way for us not to give them that momentum, is to actually press them, to play with intensity, to knock them off their rhythm. I think we're very, very good. So next point, which is going to be the fourth point that we need to improve upon quickly, is our midfield structure. I think we can say that a lot of the games in this interim period, we were bypassing the midfield a lot. I think a lot. And sometimes I sat down and thought about it. Is it a personnel issue? Yes. Could it also be an issue with structure? I think yes also. I think because if it's a personnel issue, I get if Liverpool is outplaying us. I get if the likes of Brighton or plays us. I get if maybe the likes of Man City. If it was a personnel issue, I can get there's certain things that have superior midfield to what we have currently, and they can outplay us. But if, for example, a Leeds United, a Fulham is playing us in the center of our pitch, I don't want to believe it's a personnel issue. I don't want to believe the likes of Kobe, Casemiro, Bruno cannot handle that. So I want to say it's 50-50 in terms of, yes, it's a personnel issue. We need to buy midfielders that makes our center of our pitch compact, that teams don't think they can find a way through that. But also, I think we need to improve on the structure, right? And I will do an analysis of how I believe we should counter that. But I think it's both personnel, but also based on structure. And I think we need to do that. And also, I think we need more flexibility in our midfield. And that was what I said earlier when I was analyzing the Bruno and Kobe situation, where I like the fact that Kobe now is a deep line playmaker, beginning to get into that role. It's very, very good. So he needs to improve on what he needs to do as a deep line playmaker. But also Bruno has had more flexibility in this linearly like this, in terms of he's not just fixed in number 10. He's had the opportunity to go to you and to create, which is very, very good. But also believe Bruno also should have more flexibility going down to create a little more. And I think I also know that it's going to depend on who we buy to partner Kobe, right, and the qualities of the person. For example, maybe an Elliot Anderson. If Elliot Anderson was there, for example, right, we offer maybe more dynamics. Maybe Baleba also could offer more dynamics. And so I think we need to have that flexibility, because even Bruno, we also know Bruno is very important, and Bruno also can come deep, drive people off positions, allow the likes of Elliot to do some things, or Baleba to push forward, or whoever they are, Tonali to push forward, and do those kind of things. So, or even a Kobmeno to also even move forward and have some dangerous moments. So I think I believe, I'm not saying it should be at the beginning stage of its implementation. That's like a Carrick, but I'm saying that it's something that would be very nice to see, something that could also give us different arsenal, right? In how we play. And funny enough, we had like the Rooney, even under Alex Ferguson, would have those moments where he will drop deep, cause different issues for the opponent. So I think we need to have more solidity in that midfield, in terms of not just personnel, but also structure, but also more flexibility in terms of on the ball affairs. Build up. That's the next one. Build up on the ball. Build up with the ball. I think there's one dynamic I don't really like. I know I've seen it before with Adam Maguire under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I don't really like that dynamics. I know, it's not every time it happens with Michael Carrick, but in the games where we have more of the ball, I think I see that dynamics. And it's not that dynamics is wrong. It's just that I don't like the personnel that is being used to do that dynamics. And that's Adam Maguire. I don't like the fact that Adam Maguire can carry the ball from the defense. And because if you have the ball, maybe the opponent is not pressing us as high, and Adam Maguire now decides to carry the ball and now start running with the ball and start pushing with the ball, and maybe push close to the center line before he passes. I don't like that. The fact is, let the likes of Kobe be doing that. So the dynamics is a nice dynamics depending on the opponent and how the opponent wants to press you. But Ari, give the ball to Kobe. I don't want those. It makes it look. I don't like it. The fact that we're even using it's two centers you're using, and one of our centers can now carry the ball as far as that. I think it's too risky. I don't like. Anytime I see it, I'm like, Ari Maguire has not made any mistake with it. Even under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer used to do that. But for me, I'm like, just pass the ball. Let's the deep line playmaker or the box to box guy, let them carry it, the number 6, let them carry the ball like that. Why are you carrying the ball like that, So I think that dynamics, it needs to, maybe we need to change the personnel that does that. But also I think build up with the ball, we need to build up with the ball. I think we need to build up with the ball. We need to start to get better on that. Even though I know that, yes, it's difficult. I know that, yes, next season I will not be surprised if we decide to go long as we did this season. But I think it also should be within our arsenal also, in terms of we have to also try to start building up and having patterns of build up. I think it helps to quickly bypass the opposition play and to give us some certain rhythm before we get into the final attacking phase of our play, right? The attacking third of our play. So I think it's very, very important that we also try to build up to create certain movements and dynamics. I think all these things will come out, but I think it's going to have a lot of work behind the scenes. Next one, which I believe we need to improve upon, is the overload and isolate. As I said, with the way we try to be diamond, as I said earlier, on the ball, that diamond shape I saw against Tottenham, especially sometimes against Crystal Palace, that I saw with Michael Carrick. I think it is also very good at the moment we are in that diamond and we try to overload. Yeah, I think we should have the way where there's an armor there, or sometimes we are here, we have the Dogu. We have that. That's something that we've always had in our ability for years. Every United side has that ability, even after Sir Alex Ferguson, right? That ability to have people that pacey wingers, pacey forwards that can be out wide as maximum width. And when we are here, we can easily, pin it to the person. And so I think we need to bring that more into our game. But I think that's only possible when you have more of the ball and when you're able to detect how do you want the opponent to go and how you want to hurt them. So I think we need to also do that more in our games. So we need to talk about our wingers and our fullbacks will be very, very, very effective in that. Really, very, very effective in that. We need people to be killers in terms of that situation. And we've always had that over the years. And I think we need to have that more and more into our team, right? Not just centrally, but, pam, 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 pam. We need to have that. So, our attacking structure, I've always said it, and I think we need an attacking coach. And that's why I think based on the report, I'm beginning to hear that they are trying to add one person from Bayern Munich to the coaching crew of, I think that coaching crew of Michael Carrick is full of a lot of defenders. And I believe we need to, I know Travis Binion is working with the attackers, but I think we need more than that. So I think we need more, maybe an attacking specialist to work with the attacking structure, how we attack. I feel we've had attacking structures under Michael Carrick that has to do with open play attacking structures, like trying to play behind the defensive line. We've had situations where, transition moments, but I think a lot of our attacking situations has always been long balls, which I complain about. So I think we need somebody to come in as an attacking coach to help that coaching staff to try and, put the ball on the ground and attack, cut backs, put to this side, move to this side, having that structure that, because football is all about structure. I don't know what people are saying that some people are of the school of thought that football should be played freely. Even though I don't disagree totally with that, but I believe you can play freely within a system, right? I think you can have a system, but the system also allows for a lot of flexibility. For example, I like what statement I had from Pep at one point. Pep was like saying, my job as the manager is to create structures to bring you to the final third, right? And your job as attackers is to find solutions, right, in the attacking third to score. But even in that Pep side, there are still some patterns of play in the attacking third that that they've rehearsed this, right? They've rehearsed this. I think we need to rehearse certain patterns of play. Yes, sometimes it's individual qualities that can deliver in the attacking third, but also you need to also have some attacking structures, right? Attacking patterns of play in the attacking third to also be able to find out in terms of certain situations where there's a low block. When there's a low block, you don't want to be depending on individuals all the time. You also need some structure patterns of play to see how you can break combination plays to see how you can break that low block situation. So I think we need to be able to do it. Crosses in the byline. Crosses, we need to also incorporate that in our team. Cutbacks, we need to incorporate that in our team. So I think we need to work on our attacking structure to score goals from different ways. I think that's what successful team do. And then lastly, defensive transition and the setup. I think that will be helped majorly by the kind of midfielder we get and the midfielder we try to partner with Kobe Mino, or the midfield two we get into the team. It will also be impacted by that. But also I think structure also needs to matter, and also choice in terms of what game we decide to use Harry Maguire, in my opinion, because Maguire sometimes is, as you guys know, is not good on defensive transition. So we need to make it's going to be a combination of structure in terms of how we set up, but also in terms of the personnel we are bringing in, right? And how we improve on that, how we improve on our basic structure, so that we know how the situations like against 10 men Newcastle where Ursula scored, where our defensive transition was not good at that moment and they scored us and they won the game with 10 men. So we need to improve on that situation. So I think this for me has really been a few of the things that I think we've learned. But I think our part 2 of this episode will now be on the tactics board. We explain more. We explain more things that we've seen on the pitch. We explain it with tactics, so with visual representation, so that you can understand what we're trying to say. Better. We explain some of the things we said. We had new things to it. So guys, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to share. Until I see you next time. Thank you for sticking with us. We'll see you next time. Bye.